All right, friends, I want to welcome Jim McMurtry to my show, and we're going to go down this rabbit hole. I'm going to call this the Legion of Doom or Boom or whatever is going on. What is going on in community sports? What's going on? Jim, welcome. Introduce
Hey,
yourself. Let us know why I called you on.
well, Andrew, you're a great friend. I made some notoriety because I was fired as an Abbotsford School District teacher for telling kids the truth about residential schools. As recently as last week, I had my 15-year-long volunteer basketball refereeing job taken away. So this is more of part of the witch hunt. Any teacher who speaks sanely or rationally is going to meet up with this woke cult mob. It's very upsetting.
I'm sorry, Jim. I've got to interject. You were what? You lost your position as a referee in community basketball. What ages were you teaching, or what ages were you reffing?
Well, high school.
So you're in a high school. You're reffing high school basketball. You've already been banned from teaching right now. I think you're fighting or something. Banned from teaching. I love that movie called Good Will Hunting. You can get a university anything you want for $5 and late charges from the community library. So if you're watching this, friends, don't let this stuff deter you. You can go to school in many different ways. But Jim, so what happened? Like, you've been reffing for 15 years. Why did you start reffing?
Well, I started refereeing. I just always coached at school and played in with kids in all sports and did other things, theater, environmental work. I did work with disabled children. I did all sorts of things at school as a volunteer teacher outside of class hours. So when I got a little bit too old to coach into my early 50s, and it literally hurt to do things like to shoot the basketball.
I know the feeling.
I moved into refereeing, and it's a volunteer job. We get paid stipend or an honorarium, So I got into volunteer basketball refereeing, in part because there's the need for it. So I long coached and played in with kids, and
basketball.
Yeah, I know basketball. My son played university, and I was really invested. And I like basketball. I mean,
I think both of our kids. I think both of our kids went and played some university basketball. Is that correct?
Yeah,
my kid went and played university basketball. So there's a lot of crosses when once we've met and once we've started talking. It's interesting. Strong men attract strong men until we become too strong together, and then we'll probably fight and separate. But that's just the reality of strong men. What do you think? Why do you think they did this? Like, have they told you why? Have they given you a letter?
Yeah. Well, no, they've been very. So what had happened, according to Basketball BC, that there are two school districts, the Delta and Surrey, that because I've again gained some notoriety for being a teacher who's a stickler for truth.
No. You're a teacher. You're an awesome teacher, and I don't like that.
Well, thank you, but we've gone through a period where kids are put into race buckets, and the school leaders are inquiring into their sexuality and trying to groom kids into deviant sexuality and to becoming, thinking that they're in the wrong body, and this goes on and on. But the part that upset me the most was all the defamation of Canada and of the dead, and making it seem as though Canada is just this racist hellhole, and residential schools were killing fields of Indigenous children, and none of that's true. And
do you think it has something to do with races? Because friends, if you check this out here, Jim has found something that's quite interesting, and he's posted up on his social media. If you don't know who Jim is, please check out his information in the description. But you've pulled up some interesting information back in April of last year. What happened? It was at some school where they had a Muslim religion go into the high school. Do you know anything about that?
That was this year. So the last time I was able to volunteer basketball. It was just last week.
Yeah.
And I was out of school, and a kid came up to me and asked to have his picture taken with me, and I didn't know anything of it.
It's
And
awesome, eh? He
and
loves you.
so anyhow, I used to teach at the school, and I thought it was a good experience. But that was the last time I'll ever, I guess, be a volunteer basketball referee, because the school or the school district made a complaint to Basketball BC, and they're not telling me what I did or said wrong, because of course I didn't do or say anything wrong. But it's the fact that behind me as his volunteer referee is a community activist who's standing for, among other things, historical truth, because they're lying to the kids about residential schools. And
yes, 100%.
All these murdered kids.
We've gone through all that,
and so they're pretending that there's something wrong with me, because I'm rational in the school system that's just focused on indoctrination. And to answer your question specifically, so what happened was that they really don't want anybody who is, I guess, just woke or part of that new religion. It's not that I, again, said or did anything wrong. And so while they're putting themselves up on these moral high horses and saying, oh, that McMurtry, we got to get rid of volunteers like that. 15 years, never called in sick, always got along with players and coaches and parents and so forth.
Yeah,
but these same people, like at Princess Margaret, they had the president and others from the BC Muslim Association come into the school. They had a ton of girls. I put a picture up just this morning. Yeah, hijabs and face veils. And
were these kids? I mean, I guess you wouldn't know, because they got their thingamajiggers on, but their thingamajiggers.
God bless. The beekeeper outfits. So I asked one teacher. I said, "Look, I'm seeing all these veiled girls at the school." This was just last week, and he said, well, the school's 70% Muslim now, and then I said, but no girl chooses to go through life breathing through cloth. Well, what kind of values are these? Anyhow, so obviously,
did you say that to the teacher?
I said that to the teacher.
You spoke up. Good for you.
Yeah, but the teacher looked at me as though I was an alien, and
we are.
But I'm a rights and freedoms guy. My father was the former Chief Justice of Ontario.
Yeah.
Among other things, you don't have any female compelled to cover her face for life, particularly as a teenager, long before she's old enough to decide for herself. This is something that's dictated by the men in that religion. And so, Of course, I'm not supposed to say things like this. It's far better to have women victimized. So there I am in a school where all these girls are, again, like this, completely
covered up.
Well, erased. There's just nothing. The teachers will never know.
Erased. These children are. These women are. The kids are erased.
Yeah,
the female teenagers are being. It was a great thing you just said. As women especially, right? They have their identity, and that's usually growing up. From my understanding, I'm only in my mid-50s. You've got a couple years on me, but from my experience with women, especially teenagers, they want to look good, and teaching a child that she may not conform to the ideas of North American values, which is level up, athletic, look good. Now you have to wear this thing as part of this religion. If you want to be part of this new era cult, I mean, I'm not going to say that religion is a cult. I know a lot of Muslim people. I know a lot of religious people. I don't think religious people are bad. I think when you go to the extreme in religion, I think it's not that great. If you can use the religion and continue your life in our society in North America, that's fantastic. But when you get to the extremism and you're walking through schools with 100 kids and the girls wearing all these masks, that's scary. And I also think it puts a security risk on things too, because you don't know. Like, I could be a dude. I mean, I could have.
That's the whole thing. And then, so, but if I could just ask you, Andrew, for the rest of this,
I know.
For the rest of this interview, could I be like this? Because this is what they're asking girls in schools in Surrey to do, to think that this is normal. Sorry, I'm showing my hair.
It's normal, but yeah, it should be like that.
It should be this. That's all you should see. Even I'm allowed to show my eyes. So just switch topics here a little bit. Obviously, I'm always been a great advocate of Muslim females, because their own culture is trying to, as said, eradicate them. And
Yeah.
but let's go to basketball BC. Basketball BC got this complaint from the Surrey School District and Delta School District, and they got rid of me after all these years of volunteer referee. And then I go to their website, and they're allowing what they're standing for trans athletes. So if there's some guy with junk who identifies as a girl in the school, he's allowed to go into a female washroom, into a girl's change room. So these people who get on their moral high horses, who are judging me as in some way, you know, again, morally corrupt, they're allowing men and boys to go in to girls' spaces and they're changing. And I think it's just absolutely sick and so offensive to females.
Yeah. When I was here, let me go here. When I had this came up to me on my TV. This was a news link from Rebel News. You know, everyone knows Rebel News, but the gentleman that always wears the little hat, and he's back in Ontario, he brought it up that these men that dress like women, it's a sexual fetish, I believe, were going into this community center and to the children's washroom changing. And the parents didn't know. And when the parents found out, they basically removed the kids. And then I guess a couple of the moms went in there and basically took their children out. It was just insane. That's when I first started learning about it. And you're a bit older than me. You've got kids. I've got kids. I think I've been coaching community sports for just over 30 years. You've probably been in the game probably just over 40 years. We've seen this this thing just sort of move like normal. Like we've just been like 30 years of like normalcy, you know. If anything, it's definitely boys sports has become less physical. I mean, you can remember the NBA back in the Jordan days and stuff with the dudes like smashing and playing ball. Today, people play basketball. And I always laugh at my kid at this. You know, if you can go down the court and pass the ball once and shoot and score, you've done your job. That's offense today. Where it was even 10 years ago, coaches would get mad at the players in the NBA if they didn't pass a minimum of 5 times. But today, the sports like the basketball sports getting dummied down. You know, I've got a kid. I've got kids that I've coached that are architects and lawyers and just crazy stuff now. Journeyman carpenters, all that, every type of stuff. I've been coaching for so long. But my kid, he goes to university to play basketball, and you know, he tells me this thing about this thing at Nanaimo, and it is a thing. It's definitely a boy. It's a male, and identifying as a female. And because the administration is afraid to get fired, and I believe this is where it all goes back to, it's people that have been working for 30 years, unlike you, are afraid to speak what your truth is. And well, what your truth is biologically the truth, because I got a member, you got a member, right? Like we have an outie, not an innie, and therefore we should be playing with other outies, not innies. Because I mean, I remember playing football in a tournament in Kamloops for the BC provincial title back in, I'm going to say it was like 1998. And a buddy of mine, he played football for Nebraska. He's a big fucker. And there was these girls. There was also a softball tournament there, and we had some girls in the hotel room, and they were all drinking. I don't drink, but they were all drinking. And there was a couple of girls that were cops, and she's like, my buddy's like, and this is only 1996. This is 30 years ago. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, I can't believe this stupid shit. Like, we're letting girls become cops. And the girl got really offensive. The other girl kind of just stood her ground. And he goes, I'd like to see you guys try any female cop try to take me down. And it's just a biological thing. It's something, it can't happen. It doesn't happen this way. And let's go on back to your story about this. Like, what's going to happen as a result of this? So are you suspended, or they got rid of you?
Yeah, just on the note that you brought up. So the VIU Vancouver,
Nanaimo. It's in Nanaimo trans. I got right here. Nanaimo trans basketball accuses opponents of physical and verbal attacks. Hey, Jim, I do not like your turtleneck. I'm going to tell you why I don't like your turtleneck, bro. Because I was raised in the 80s. That's a 70s thing. But you know what? I respect the turtleneck. I don't have one. but that's for the decade before
Amen.
me.
I was born in the 50s. Give me a break.
Oh,
Hey,
you're in the 50s.
So this male playing on this again college basketball team, put female players at risk, and that was the problem. And they
100%.
end up suspending the CBC coach, which is another college team in Abbotsford. So they ended up again. This is what the sport. So my situation.
Whoa, wait a second. They suspended a coach?
Yeah, her name's Taylor Clegg, and
Her.
well, yeah, no, because it was a coach who objected to the fact that her
And she's a female coach.
And the team won the national championship that year. But what happened was their players were being physically hurt by this one male player on VIU.
Makes sense.
So there was a rational reason why she didn't want to have males, particularly this big male, playing in female sports. So where I am in my volunteer refereeing, which I think is like my teaching is probably over because I'm firing back, is that there's people who have got the intellectual development of 3-year-olds, because anyone older than 3 recognizes you don't mix boys and girls in change rooms and in washrooms. These are the people that are again sitting in judgment over me for doing things that are and saying things that are rational. And if you look closely at them, again, you've got the people at in the Surrey School District who think this is what all females should look like, and then you've got people at Basketball at BC who you think is good for some big guy to come reveal himself and look at all the girls in the change room, and so these leftist woke lunatics who have taken over some of our institutions, they see themselves again as morally righteous, and yet the vast majority of Canadians are with us, Andrew.
Yeah. So this is something I want to just touch on. Percentages, right? You got to look at the percentages. I believe, and it's just my opinion, that a greater portion of the teachers, of the coaches that are, I'm going to say 40 years, 35 and older, the greater majority of 35 years and older understand what's happening is wrong. But they've been working for a decade or 2, sometimes 3, like Jimmy here. And, they're 10 years or 20 years from their, retirement. They've already put in a whole bunch of time. So they're just going to conform with this idea. And I think that's how it started out. But now, because of that smaller percentage, the smaller percentage of the coaches, the teachers, and now the administration in both schools and athletics have come into power, because only the people that cause distension, they get into those power positions, right? Everyone else just kind of like, I just want to do my job, leave me alone. And now there's a lot of coaches and teachers out there. People, if you're watching this, speak up. This is wrong. It's just wrong. My own position in this, 2022, I had been coaching community and high school football for almost 30 years. I wasn't even 49 years old. And I had 21 complaints within a 3-week period. And I was deemed that I wasn't allowed to coach. I had been stripped of everything. They couldn't strip all my accolades and my schooling that I had to take in order to be a coach, ethics courses and all this stuff. But when I went to fight and I found out, and I did fight, and I got one of the best criminal law attorneys in Canada to basically make a phone call and send a couple of letters, all for free, because he knew me and he knows about me. I coach his kids. They quickly, within 3 weeks, retracted and let me do what I continued. Well, actually, they didn't let me continue because I just did what I was going. I just continued to coach. Now, I was in community, a little bit different than your situation, Jim. You're a paid, stipend guy and referee, so it is a little bit different. But I just went on and did my thing, and they actually apologized. My lawyer made them write an apology. Now, this is 2022, friends. This is how fast this is moving. This is 3 years later. And Jimmy, he's like, this is a religious thing, isn't it, Jimmy? I think it's religion. I don't go to church. They put football on Sundays. Jim's coaching, Jim's playing. He's an athlete. I think he played. You played university sports, didn't you?
Yeah.
You played university sports, and you leveled up. You finished school. You finished school. You got married. You had kids. Okay, I'm going to start coaching the kids to help them level up, teach them about boys and girls and right and wrong, and then keep leveling up. Now your kids are gone. They're off doing their thing, and you're thinking, how do I stay in the game? I've been doing this for so long. This is where my soul gets taken care of, and then you can't say what's on your mind.
Yeah, but of course, it would make it very clear to everybody. I never talk politics with any, in a gym. I'm with kids. It was all about the kids. It was them. And what I found over the years is they were always short referees.
Always.
Particularly earlier in the day. I'm retired. Well,
you get the grade 9s, coach. You got the grade 9s refereeing the grade 5s.
Well, but that's right. You get kid ref or teacher refs who don't know what they're doing. And you're not honoring the kids that, some of the kids that you're playing are provincial leading players. Some are going to go on to become professionals or anyhow. You want to respect them by having people on the court who can handle the players and coaches and know the rules in and outside. So in other words, I was always in demand as a referee because there was a shortage of people like us.
And you were good. No.
And
you are good.
Thank you.
You are good.
Very little money involved because sometimes you have to drive an hour just to get to the game. And it's one game. So, it's not about money. It's about
it's not about the money for you, Jim.
I don't think it's about the money. So they've got rid of me because they're saying that my values are suspect. And I'm going, my values, the only reason that I have any public image today, and I do right across Canada, is because I was the first person who said that there are no dead or missing or disappeared children in any Indian residential school, starting with Kamloops. And everybody looked at me like I was a monster. And then here we are almost 5 years later, and people know, oh, Jim, everything you said, of course, was right. And so all I wanted to do was get things right with kids. And when I'm in a basketball court, all I care about is getting the game right for the kids. But that's not what the school leaders care about. That's not what the Basketball BC cares about. They don't even care if there's referees for the game. What matters to them is everybody has to be part of that same woke culture, religion, where you believe boys should go into girls' change rooms and where girls should, again, be covered and everybody is defined by his or her race and their sexuality, even if they're in kindergarten, is everybody else's business. And maybe they are in the wrong body and they should think of puberty blockers or chest binding. And anyhow, the school world's gone insane. And here I am as a rational teacher standing against it. They've taken away my job now. They've taken away my ability to be a volunteer in my society. But it's not going to work. They're going to go down. You just watch. It might take years.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Oh, no, I never said that. I was never part of, telling kids that, race defines everything and their sexuality is something they have to announce. My pronouns are, I'm in kindergarten. I have to tell everybody in the class what my pronouns are because everybody should know what my orientation is sexually. Our school system and our sports associations are being run by sick, pathological liars. And the idea that the parents want to have boys and girls, no parent wants that.
Jim, I got to interject here for a quick second. I had a phone call last week. Now I've been a president of an organization, one of the oldest organizations for football in Canada. And I have been over for a decade. And I've worked alongside other presidents. Of course, when you're a president, you communicate in the back channels with presidents to help the sport stay at where it is and continue to grow. Now, I've watched football over the past 10 years. Well, there's no more tackle football. It's all flag football, right? Because we first had to let the girls come in and play with the boys, which was fine because, up until grade 6, grade 7, I've actually coached, and you can agree or disagree really quick. There's girls out there that are much better athletes than boys until grade 6. But once that puberty hits in grade 7, 8, their level just changes. So I think if they're playing basketball or volleyball or some sports like that, I've never had a problem with boys and girls playing together as long as you tier them properly in their skill development. But as soon as that grade 7 hits, it should stop. But they've just sort of figured, I think what's happened, we've let these parents have this idea that, well, because that girl's good enough, then when they go to grade 8, they should play and they should play and they should play. And I've got my own experience. I coached this young lady. She was, in elementary school. I coached her. She played football. She wanted to go to high school. She wanted to play football. I fought for her to play, but I also knew the school really well. I knew the coaches really well. They put her in a position that wasn't going to be threatening physically, even though football is pretty threatening. And she's the only female in provincial history that has a football championship ring. So there are those that kind of stand out. And so, there is those things that stand out. But as a result of what's happened in the past, even I'm going to just say 6 years or 5 years, we've got to get back to normalcy. And I think all of that, it's just my opinion, especially in high school, it just needs to stop. So there are good coaches out there. And I know some of you watch my stuff and you watch my channel. Please don't get deterred. Please keep speaking your truth. Keep doing the things you do, because we need to fight back. Guys like Jim, guys like me, there's other of us out there. We're getting a hold of them. We're going to come back. We're going to support this, because we need to support the kids growing up in the right bodies, in the right sports, doing the right things so that they can level up and become whatever members of society they want to be in. But this has just got to stop. So, Jim, what's next for you? They've taken your school away, which is your job, but it's also a religious thing, because that's what you love doing. You love helping children get to the next level up. And now they've taken away your ability to ref basketball. Are you going to walk away for a bit and sort of set yourself straight with whatever's going on in their minds, and continue on the path that you've been on in relation to working with, Francis, and doing your own thing too on the side of moving forward to get the message out? Is that what you're going to do?
Well, I'm not slowing down at all. I think these people, they're just making me stronger. If they think they picked on the right teacher,
Legion of Boom, bro. I'm so pissed.
A bit of a surprise. So just two things I just want to quickly mention, Andrew, look, the two of us went into war together recently at the University of Victoria. We're made from the same stock. Nobody is going to deter me from doing what's right for children. And the guiding principle is what's in the best interest of children. And keeping me as a volunteer referee is in their interest, because they don't have other people to just walk in and do this sort of work and know the game well and stuff. So, they're hurting kids, and to take me out for indicating historical truth. But just two really quick things about me as a volunteer referee. A couple of months ago, my referee association gave me certificate of recognition for promoting the goals and ideals. So I won a special award in front of all my peers for being a referee. So that's me over 15 years. And the second thing is, then someone nominated me.
Can anyone say hypocrisy?
And then the same meeting, somebody said, we need somebody else on the executive. Somebody nominated me, and other people were nominated as well, and they voted me in. So just a short while ago, I got, again, the certificate of recognition, and I was voted onto the executive to organize and manage referees in Surrey. And so here we are just a couple of months later, because again, I'm standing for historical truth, and the public commons with Francis Whittleson. They think, oh no, he's got bad values. And it's kind of interesting, because most of my referee peers are not like me. They're not white. They're not people who come from the same background in any way. Most of them were not born in Canada, and yet they see in me as a decent guy who's always really supportive.
They look up to us.
Of them. And so I know that to a lot of referees, I'm somebody important. I know to a lot of players come to me after the game, and parents and coaches and say, that was really well done. So we're lucky to have had you as a referee. So they're willing to throw all that away simply because I am not a left-wing lunatic when it comes to this woke program of race and sexuality and minority this and minority group that. So this is what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to continue along the path that I'm on, and I'm going to, along with people like you and others, obviously. Tamara Leach exchanged messages with me yesterday. I am going to make a difference to my country. There are going to be no more statues of McDonald or Ryerson or anybody else being torn down. There's going to be no more coaches who stand against males playing against their female players being suspended, as happened to Taylor Clegg and Abbotsford. And in particular, there's going to be no more teachers like me who are walked out in front of his students for telling kids the truth and not playing and not lying to them again about genocide in schools. As a teacher, I can tell you one thing that does not happen in schools is genocide.
Jim, I'm actually sorry to tell you this, but I think genocide's happening right now with Western civilization. They're trying to erase us. I've been very close to the school board. I've been very close to elementary and high schools, kids, Ministry for Children, Family Development, all sorts of it. I've been on all edges, all corners, if there's an octagon, I was in 6 parts for the last 30 years. And I've single-handedly watched men, strong women, and even women in basketball, like women's coaches. It's falling apart. It's crumbling. And I don't know where it's coming from. I have my ideas, but I don't like to talk conspiracy. I'm watching it. I'm watching it. And in Europe, I'm watching it personally with my own eyes in the United Kingdom and Scotland and England, Wales. I'm watching it in Toronto and Ontario, I'm watching it in BC. I'm watching it here really bad. I think there's a genocide happening to our people in relation to the addictions. It's happening. And I think right now they're setting the stage, or it's already been set, for mass trauma. I really honestly believe, Jim, and I just want to end and land the plane here with you. I think, and I was talking to a very predominant person in the addictions field in the last couple of days, because we're working on a project together and it's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. But we believe, and we were just talking, and this word kept coming up. He's like, it's mass addiction. It's mass addiction. And I'm like, well, it's mass trauma. And then we kind of pulled it together. And we have mass trauma right now in North America, in the United Kingdom. I think Europe's gone. I honestly think it's gone. It's really too bad. I think it's like millions of Muslims, millions of Africans that are taking over the streets in Europe. It's happening in the UK now. And what's funny here is we're letting it happen here as they did in the UK. And anyone that's tough, the trades, especially the tough guys, the dudes that are going to stand up and fight, if they're sober, they're all getting loaded and they're all getting hooked on the drugs and they're all dying. So I think it's our culture that's being genocided right now. And then cultural genocide, that whole reconciliation thing is like a mask, is the cultural genocide. I don't know. I don't think either of us can agree or disagree on that topic, because I don't think either of us, well, I know either of us weren't alive from 1840 to 1950. So whatever happened there happened. And then God bless, people had their own trauma. But I think we're going through our own trauma now. And it's just really strange. It doesn't make sense. I'm trying to make sense of it every day. I'm completely determined, like you, to do what I can to keep my voice strong, because we need to, Jim, people like you and I need to, so that others will follow. And there are a lot of people out there like me and you right now doing the things that they do. We're probably just one of very few strong men, that are doing it here in BC. So, Jim, I really want to thank you for coming on and talking about the situation that you found yourself in, and for being the strong person you are to get through this, Jim. Thank you so much.
Pleasure always.
So, Jim, so I'll end it, and then let's talk a little bit.